Hey everybody, it's Gus with Egypt Adventures Travel. I make customized itineraries for people's trips to Egypt, and I lead group tours myself. So shoot me an email today if you're traveling to Egypt, and I'd love to talk about how I can help. In today's video, we're going to talk about the oft asked question, can I wear shorts to Egypt? And I'm also going to talk about the things that I like to pack and wear in Egypt and things that travelers would want to avoid wearing when they're traveling to Egypt. So let's get started. I want to begin the discussion on what clothes to wear in Egypt by saying that Egypt looks at how men or people who are perceived to be men or women dress very differently. So I'm a man, and when I'm in Egypt, everybody looks at me and assumes that I'm a man. So the things that I'm able to wear and feel comfortable in are much, much different than somebody who is a woman who's traveling to Egypt. So that's the first caveat that I want to make. I'm going to talk in this video separately about men's clothes and women's clothes. And of course, I want to acknowledge that there really is no such thing as men's clothes or women's clothes. But for the purposes of this video, what I say or what I mean when I say men's clothes are clothes that people would traditionally say are worn by men, and for women's clothes, the opposite. So let's start by talking about clothes that, as a man, I wear when I'm in Egypt and I feel comfortable wearing. Generally, in Egypt, Egyptian men are going to wear long pants, and they're going to wear in the fall, winter, spring, a long sleeve shirt, maybe a short sleeve shirt, and then in summertime, you'll often see a lot of men wearing short sleeve shirts. Men in Egypt usually like to dress their best when they're out in public. So you'll often see men wearing fancier shoes, wearing slacks, or wearing like a polo or a button-down shirt. Of course, younger people usually skew toward dressing more casually, and older people usually skew toward dressing a little bit more formally. But tourists are often shocked when they get to Egypt and they see that the temperature is 90 degrees or 100 degrees, and they see all of the men around them wearing pants that are long and that are very hot in that type of weather. But that's just common in Egypt. I have been noticing a lot more Egyptian men wearing shorts than I used to when I first started going to Cairo 10 years ago. However, it's still pretty uncommon to see men wearing shorts in Egypt. You might notice a few, especially in the summertime, but it's not a common thing. However, as a tourist, I've talked about this a lot in my other videos, especially if you're like a visibly white person like I am. Egyptian people look at you in a different way. They don't look at you and ascribe the same types of expectations that they would have for somebody who they think is Egyptian. So in Egypt, I wear tank tops like this in the summer. I wear shorts, and I definitely will get some stares, and every once in a while somebody will make a comment about usually a tank top, and they'll say, "Why are you wearing that? Are you going to exercise?" But generally, that privilege that I have as a foreign tourist in Egypt means that nobody's going to give me any type of hassle or treat me in a way that I'm not going to want if I'm wearing a tank top or wearing shorts. That being said, I usually like to blend in a little bit more when I travel, so I'll often wear longer pants and I'll wear a short sleeve shirt or a button-down shirt when I'm in Egypt. Unless it's super hot out, like in the summertime, then I'll oftentimes wear shorts, wear a t-shirt, and then sometimes wear a tank top. Especially, one more point I want to make, when you're at a resort on the Red Sea, so let's say that you're in Sharm el Sheikh or you're in Hurghada, or if you're traveling on a Nile cruise, in those types of environments, it's almost expected that foreigners are going to dress in shorts, in tank tops, that women are going to wear shorts at a beach, at a resort in Sharm el Sheikh, that women will wear a two-piece bathing suit. So you also have to think about the context of where you are. In downtown Cairo, taking the metro, that's a way, way, way different place than part of a tour group who's at the pyramids. When you're in a space that has a lot more Egyptians and local people, the type of dress that you wear is probably going to be scrutinized more than if you're in a place that's seen as touristy. So I talked about men's clothes in Egypt and what I wear when I travel to Egypt. And I talked a little bit about different contexts, like what it's like when you're dressing for your day on the beach in Hurghada versus going to a market in downtown Cairo. Now I want to talk about clothing and expectations for female travelers. Tangentially, I wrote a blog post about sexual harassment in Egypt that one of my really, really good US American female friends helped me with. She provided the bulk of the content for the blog post, and I just wrote it all down and put it all together. So I'll link that in the video description for folks to read more. That kind of goes into more detail. But for women traveling to Egypt, you're going to see Egyptian women covering up almost all of their skin except for their hands and their faces. And sometimes you might even see a woman covering up her hands with gloves or covering up her face if she's wearing an abaya or a niqab or something similar. But female tourists are not expected to do the same. And also, 10% of Egypt's population is Christian, and Christian women do not cover their hair. So you will by no means see every single Egyptian woman wearing a hijab and covering up her hair. 10% of women in Egypt are Christian, and they wouldn't cover their hair at all when they're out in public. So women don't need to worry, number one, about wearing a hijab at all. And number two, women don't necessarily need to worry about covering up every single bit of skin. I have traveled to Egypt with women who have worn short sleeves, like maybe a t-shirt, or who have worn capri pants and have felt totally comfortable. I also see every time I go to Egypt in a tour group, one or two women who are wearing like super short shorts and who are wearing a tank top, almost like beach wear when they're at the Egyptian Museum or at the Giza Plateau. So there are some women who travel around and who wear that type of clothing. I don't recommend it, and from what I've talked to my female friends about in terms of what to wear in Egypt and avoiding sexual harassment, they don't recommend it either. My friend Liz put it in a really simple way. Women probably want to cover up their knees, midriff, cleavage, and shoulders. So that's kind of the rule of thumb that I tell women to do. Worry about covering up knees, midriff, cleavage, and shoulders. And generally speaking, you're probably going to be comfortable in most settings that you're in with a tour group in Egypt following that rule of thumb. A lot of times women I travel with will have different layers with them. So they'll have a small bag where they have a scarf and they have like a cardigan that they can quickly throw on, cover up shoulders, or maybe wrap around their waist to just give a little bit more coverage if they feel comfortable doing that, if they're in like a more public space like a market versus inside the Egyptian Museum where there's just tourists. And then like I mentioned earlier, when you're staying at a 5-star hotel, you're on a Nile cruise, you're at the beach, at a resort, you can pretty much dress like you would dress anywhere. Egyptians in those spaces are respectful of tourists and are used to seeing people wearing kind of whatever they're going to wear. So those types of settings, it's okay to wear a 2-piece bathing suit, or it's okay to wear shorts for a woman. You're going to feel comfortable. You're probably not going to run into any issues. And one last topic I want to cover really quickly is going inside of religious spaces like mosques or churches. And some people even ask me about Egyptian temples, like ancient Egyptian temples, if there's a dress code for those. So for ancient Egyptian temples, wear whatever makes you feel comfortable. There's no dress code for those. For churches, same thing. Wear whatever makes you feel comfortable. Every once in a while, I've had somebody when I'm going into a church remark on clothing like shorts or a tank top, but for the most part, I haven't had any issues. For mosques, I recommend that if you have a day where you're seeing a bunch of mosques, like you're going to Khan Khalili Market and walking up and down Muez Street, or if you're going to the mosque that's inside of Luxor Temple, or that's, right adjacent to Luxor Temple. If you know you're gonna go to a mosque that day, it's a smart idea to just wear a shirt that covers up your shoulders and to wear something that covers up knees, or to bring a spare change of clothes in a backpack that you can just throw on, or to bring a scarf that you can wrap around or drape around yourself. Women will be asked to cover up their hair when going into a mosque, so that's another time where that scarf in a backpack or a fanny pack comes in real handy because you can just whip it out and quickly cover up your hair. And if you forget, mosques will often have like cloth coverings that they'll give out to women who can use those to cover up their hair, visit the mosque, and then deposit them at the exit when they go out. And that costs a small fee, usually 10 Egyptian pounds or something like that. So that's what you want to think about if you're going inside of a mosque in Egypt in terms of what clothes to wear. So that's it for today's video. I know I talked super quickly, and I know that I went over a bunch of different stuff, but I hope that you were able to kind of answer that question of, can I wear shorts to Egypt? And also get a better idea of what men could wear to Egypt, what women should pack and wear, and specific situations like in downtown Cairo versus at a 5-star resort on the Red Sea, and inside of a mosque versus going to the Giza Plateau, and all the different contextual things to consider when thinking about what to wear. I'm really looking forward to hearing about more folks' trips. It's been super fun to help everyone plan, and I'm really excited to get back to Egypt myself soon, inshallah, God willing, like we say in Arabic. So thanks for watching this video, everybody. I'm Gus with Egypt Adventures Travel. Until next week.